Hi everyone, it's April 3rd, Brian here. It's time for your daily vitamin. And hopefully today, in a condensed version, I'm going to actually answer two age-old questions. One, how do you kind of deal with dirty dishes at shows? And two, how do you actually recruit more people at shows? So the first thing we're going to kind of do is we're going to go through how I kind of pack or worry about those kind of dirty dishes, because I do my dishes at home, okay? So what I actually do is I have one of the shopping totes. I have the old male version, and I'm going to show you the female version in a second. But basically in this tote, what I do is I pack the stuff that I'm either going to talk about or use in the demo. Okay, so for instance, I have things like the close and cut, the popcorn maker, the quick slice. Now we're coming into kind of spring and summer season, so I have the pineapple wedger, always the cheese grater, the veggie stripper, and then of course the slicer. Okay, so I just kind of take those and I put them in the bag. I also have a little bag here, and I learned a trick a long time ago. When you buy new sheets and you get those kind of covers for your pillowcases and your sheets, save them. Inside here I have all my measuring cups, and it's a great way to kind of keep everything concealed in one place, and you just throw this bag right into the big bag. So ultimately I'm going to kind of load up the bag, okay, and you just kind of, get this in the camera, you just kind of throw everything in here, and these are things that you really don't have to worry about. If they bounce around, they're not going to get scratched, they're not going to get broke. So you just kind of put them right in the bag like that, okay? And then use the little toggle to close it up, okay? Now, I'm going to show you in a second what I actually do with that bag, but for the time being, I'm going to put it aside. Oop, I forgot one. Okay. Then what I did was, here's the female bag, or the bag that we actually carry now in the book, okay? It's an 11-gallon bucket, okay? And all I did was I took the other bag and I put it over the bucket. And I'm going to be honest, this was not my idea. I'm borrowing this idea from Cindy Johnson, my upline exec. But basically, you cover the bucket with the bag. So it's a good way to show the bag as well and talk about the bag. Inside the bag, I have the bowl, our big serving bowl. And I use this at most of the shows, so it's going to get dirty anyway. And then I have a couple of pieces in here, like the trivet, the boil over them was. These are pieces a lot of times I use at shows, but if I don't, I always talk about them. And then right now at the bottom, because it's Stoneware Special Month, I actually have the two entertaining platters. So I put those at the bottom. And then here, on the side of the bag, make sure you guys can see that, I put all my cutting boards, on my cutting mats, and I also have the rectangular trivet, the big hot pad, okay? So that stays nicely in there, and I can just kind of grab. So now what I do is I actually take the bowl, put that at the bottom, take the bag, put the bag on top, and then off I go. So this is like the show in a show right here. Just bring a couple of knives and you're good to go. But ultimately, this is how I deal with it. So basically what happens is anything from this bag that gets dirty, because I know the pieces down here will get dirty. Maybe I'll chuck these in the bag. But ultimately, you have dirty dishes, and then you have the bag of the products that are not dirty, so you can kind of keep those separate. So then when I come home at night from the show, this bucket is the only bucket I bring in, wash them, put them back in the bucket, or put them back in the bag wherever they see fit, and then off I go, ready to the next show. I love this concept of using the bin, because ultimately you don't see the dirty dishes at the show. It slides nicely under the table. It really works well, so when I'm kind of got scraps on the table, I can scrape them right into the bucket. I don't have to worry about the garbage bag or the bowl on top of the counter. I got my placemat on the table, just cut away, slide the stuff inside, okay? So there's the age-old question of how I deal with dirty dishes at shows. Now, the second carry to shows. This is what I call my recruiting bag. Okay? Recruiting, folks, is very intentional. You have to be intentional with recruiting, just like with getting people to host shows, getting people to want to buy products. So when you're at the show, you have to create the desire. So ultimately, here's what I have. I have my apron in here. But in here, and again, kind of reverted to the bags, I have the manual food processor. Oops. Okay. I have the manual food processor, and I have the 5-inch Santoku knife. Then I have the grill pan. And at the bottom, I have the Everyday Rock Crock. And I put it on the warmer. I put the sweater on it just to help protect it. I don't often talk about the sweaters at shows, but sometimes I do. But ultimately, it's there if I need to. Okay? So these, what I do is, these are the first 4 products I set up at a show. Okay? And what I ultimately try to do is I set these products up in a different room, maybe the living room, and everybody's kind of sitting there, you know, talking. And then I have a recruiting binder. I just took the sheet that says the 6 aprons, okay, and inside it, I have 20 snapshot pictures of the kit, and I have them in sheet protectors, okay? So what I do is when they're in the other room, now keep in mind, in the dining room, the kitchen, wherever it is I'm going to do the show, that's where the rest of the products are. In the dining room or the living room where they're sitting, now they're sitting and I start my show. I do my opening, I thank the host, and then what I ultimately try to do at that point is I focus on these 4 products. And just these 4 products. And I may say things like, a little bit later, folks, we're going to kind of go into the other room, and I'm going to show you some products that are going to change your life in the kitchen. But right now I want to focus on these 4 products that are going to change your life outside of the kitchen and help you to ultimately earn money. And here's how we're going to do this. And then I start talking about each individual product. Why they want to buy the product, the great uses for the product, how the product's made, all the great benefits to having those products. And I really create the desire for just these 4 products. Once that happens, then basically what I do is I hand each person one of these sheets. And it shows that's 3 snapshots of the kit. And then what I start to do is I'll ask different questions. Like, how many people could benefit from our 11-inch grill pan? And you ultimately have people raising their hands, things of that nature. So I start to do a price comparison. And I kind of go through it because in the book I also have a little sheet, so you can see that, that does the price comparison. For instance, the grill pan. As much as you may want to buy, you want to have this grill pan, the grill pan is $149. Okay? So ultimately, for the price of the pan, you're actually going to receive, if you choose to, a little over $1,000 worth of products if you just added $100 to the grill pan. And then I point them to the picture or the snapshot of the largest kit. And then you go through the same process with each piece. You do a price comparison because a lot of times people need to see or visualize in their head the justification to why to buy that product. And then you also talk to them at that point about hosting shows and how they can reduce the price using the kit credit. So there's other ways to reduce the prices of that, okay? So ultimately, that's how I get people to actually get interested in the business at the show and ultimately want to either host a show or think about the business. And then we talk a little bit more at the tail end of the show at the full service checkout. But anybody who shows a desire to host a show at that point, I'm going to give them a host packet. Anyone who shows a desire to think about the business or just think a little bit more about the business, I give them kind of a quick little packet that shows some basic materials about the business. You know, and in that it's grab the spoon, the kit credit, another snapshot of the picture. It also has some basic business questions in there. You know, do I have to cook? Do I have to, you know, keep an inventory? Do I have areas I have to? Do I have monthly quotas that I have to meet? Things of that nature. So it answers some basic questions. And I don't really go over those questions that night. I arrange a follow-up call and we go into it after that. Okay? So I hope that answered some basic questions. There's a lot more stuff I can talk about with this. It's just we're limited on these calls. So basically, I hope that gave you some sort of an idea. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me. Have a great week, everybody.